Well, good evening. I'm going to give people just a few minutes to jump on, but welcome to this taster of Scent and Send. And I've been looking forward to doing this. I've been looking forward to getting started and getting you started on what I believe is a kingdom journey which will transform you, actually. And I say that boldly, I say that confidently, because I believe that God has really been speaking to me about this theme. And as I think back, I realize He's been speaking about it for quite some time. And I'm seeing a number of you jumping on now. Welcome. Delighted to have you on here. And I'm going to start by saying something which very few people will have heard me say, but I've saved it. I saved it for tonight, and I'll be saying it again on Monday when I launch the Scent and Send School properly for those who've subscribed. But for now, I want to introduce something to you, and that is my ministry. That for me is a phrase that I have left to one side, but I really do believe that the theme of Scent and Send is the ministry that the Lord is really giving me to do in these days. And those of you who know me know I've worked as a nurse, psychiatric and general nurse. I've worked as a prison officer. I've worked as a prison governor, and then I've gone out to Bethel. Was a student, was a member of the senior leadership team, and still am a member. One of the great privileges of my life. And all the way through, I've really served someone else's vision. I've made it my own. It's not been a problem. I still do as I travel. It's my great privilege to serve people's visions as I step into ministering in their world. But right now, I believe that the Lord has given me something to do, something to say, and that is Scent and Send. And of course, you all know where this originates from. It is the words of Jesus. He really said them more than once. I read them for a long time in John chapter 17, in that great high priestly prayer in Holy Week. But the place that really got to me, and I want to really share with you and release to you, to be honest, the place that really got to me is John chapter 20, on that Resurrection Sunday night, the first Resurrection Sunday. The disciples were locked in a room for fear of the Jews. They were afraid. It had been a chaotic week. A week before, they'd entered town with Jesus, riding on a donkey, the crowds throwing their palm leaves down. They didn't know it would be forever known as Palm Sunday. They were shouting, Hosanna, in the name of the Lord. And then it ended, of course, with the crucifixion of Jesus. And in between that, such great events, such moments of question. Of course, we see three of the disciples, one betraying him, one doubting him, and one denying him. It was chaotic. They've seen the dead raiser die. They've seen the chaos of the week. They must have been questioning their purpose on that Sunday night. For 3 years, they got up every day and followed him. They'd gone where Jesus went, said what Jesus said, eaten with him, ministered with him. What would they do on Monday morning? They had a sense of loss of purpose, and of course, they'd been betrayed. But it was into that environment that Jesus, and it says in Matthew chapter 6, our Father knows what we need before we ask him. And Jesus that night demonstrated that he knew what the disciples needed before they ever asked him. They never had to, because he stepped into the room. How he got through, I sometimes think that we've spent more time questioning how he got through those thick walls of a building in the ancient Jerusalem. But really, the real beauty is what he said. He said, peace. Now, some have said to me that peace was just the greeting. Of course, that's true. But he said it twice. He spoke peace into the chaos. That's an incredible truth. He then, and I'll take them out of order, he said, receive the Holy Spirit. He gave power where they felt powerless. He said, forgive. For if you don't forgive, the sins won't be forgiven. we know, I'm sure, that Jesus was thinking of the dreadful betrayal of Judas. And then finally, Jesus said on that resurrection Sunday night, as the Father sent me, so I send you. And this is where I've taken this from, this theme of my ministry. Is it mine? Well, I believe the Lord's given it to me. You don't need to worry about that. It's what he's given me to do. I've for a long time taught people about knowing who you are, knowing why you're alive, knowing where you're going, and knowing the impact that you will have on this earth in him. And my sense is that this is the theme of the impact that I want to have on the earth. This is what I want to see. I want every believer to know that they are sent, whoever they are, whatever they do, wherever they go. I want that. I really do. I meet people all the time, and I was one of them, working wherever they work, in prison, in hospital, in schools, in computer studios, as waiters, as waitresses, as truck drivers, as train drivers, whatever it is they do. And there were times when it's like, gosh, if only I was paid to go to church, if only I had a job in the church, if only I had a title in the church. But no, our ministry is where we are and what we do. And I believe that with all my heart. And it's not just a kind of a way of solving a problem. No, actually, I want to empower everyone. And as I've been thinking through and preparing the work and preparing the material for the school and the things that I will send out, I've been challenging myself. What's my quadrant? Those of you that know me know I love to teach about, what's your what? What's your vision? What's your why? Your mission? How are you going to do it? What's the structure? What are the elements? And what will be the culture? And I've been thinking about that a lot recently. And I will be presenting actually to the school my own quadrant for this. But I want to just aim at the culture for a minute. The culture, which I am really going to press in for in the school and the online community and my coaching newsletters, which I'll be sending out to you. What I want to press in for is 3 cultures to empower. I believe that this is vital at such a time as this, that everyone is empowered. And in order to empower, you have to have power to give away. And I believe the Lord is going to release that through me. And I want to also, secondly, a culture of identity, of knowing who we are. This is absolutely vital and has to go much further than just something we learn in the counseling chair or reading a book at a conference. It needs to be the way we live, our culture of identity, and then a culture of confidence. And really that comes from something that many of you know me for, and that is he wastes nothing. He gets you ready. This is what I want. I want people to get out into their work Monday morning, as it were. I want them to almost feel like that resurrection Sunday night. What is my purpose in life? And then find themselves on Monday morning empowered with somebody saying, you're sent, you're a sent one. And then to know their identity. Their identity is not, it's not about working in the church. It's about knowing who you are and being sent by him, carrying, as it were, the letters from Jesus himself. And then, of course, the confidence, because it's absolutely vital. So I'm very, very excited about a number of elements that I'll be teaching. For those of you who've just jumped on, if you don't know anything about the structure of what I'm going to build, before I talk a little bit about the history of secular sacred divide and why I actually believe it's got us into trouble, I'll be sharing that. But let me just give you a few elements of what I'm doing. Sent and Send is really a subscription. I've priced it very low. That's very important to me. You might say, well, don't you value it? It's like, no, I value it so much that I want it to be accessible to many, many people. I don't want to just produce something which is out of reach of people. I really, that's really important to me. That's why I priced it at £10 a month, which will give you access to some resources which are already available. Things like mastering kingdom administration, strategic planning, some teaching about leading organizational transition. It also includes a number of new video series which I've recently filmed. One on the apostolic, a 4 video series on being apostolic. I've also got a series on being sent, what it really means to be a sent one. And one on things fathers do, which is some me talking through some of the elements of my book, and then empowering leadership. And if you don't think you're a leader, well, we need to deal with that straight away. We're all leaders. Every one of us, every believer is a leader. And the first challenge is to lead yourself, to lead me. So all of those will apply. So there's a lot of resources already available on my website. And once you subscribe, you have immediate access to those. And there's more than enough to keep you going through the year, put it that way. And then you'll also have the school once a month, the school, which will last for about an hour and 25 minutes. There'll be a school. The dates are published, and once you subscribe, you'll also have all the Zoom links for the school. There'll be about 10 minutes introduction each week. Really, probably some recap, an opportunity to share some testimonies, and really some feedback on the assignment that I'll be giving for you to do in between the school nights. So about 10 minutes. And then there'll be a teaching session where I'll teach something very, very much of a teaching format, probably for 20 or 25 minutes. And the first school on Monday, this is a really, really important subject, and one that's become very dear to my heart. And that is why every Christian needs to know that they are apostolic. And some of you might be going, really? Did Paul just say they're all apostles? No, I didn't. I said they need to know. You need to know that you are apostolic. How does that happen? Well, you'll find out in the school. I'll be unpacking that for the first training. And then the second teaching, about 20 or 25 minutes, will be more of a teaching for an application. So the first 3 months, and it may be 4, I'm not quite sure how it's going to lay out, but there's something I want to help every one of you to do, and that is to create your sent manifesto. Now, honestly, up until recently, I would have thought, well, if I'm getting you to write a manifesto, that must be something to do with politics. No, it's not. Now, obviously, a politician writes a manifesto. But what they're really saying is this aspirational statement of, if you elect me, if my government comes into power, then this is what it will look like when we as a political party manifest. Well, I've taken that and applied it to us as individuals. See, what I want to help everyone do is that when you show up, I want the best version of you to show up in your place of work. So helping you, going to take you on a journey of writing your sent manifesto. What does it look like when you fully show up in your place of work? And for the key things that we'll look at of you manifesting will be peace. That's something we all want to bring to our workplace. Joy to our workplace. Our identity to our workplace. These are vital elements that we want to see showing up. So, and the final one, of course, is the sense of purpose when we show up. So, joy, peace, identity, purpose. But what we're going to do is we're going to break the manifesto down a little bit more. Week by week, we can look at it. So we'll write an aspirational statement of what do I want it to look like in my workplace when the best version of me shows up with joy, peace, identity, and purpose. And we'll look at that through the lens of your mandate. your calling. Well, unpack that a little bit, because we've often thought calling, oh, that sounds like, well, occasionally a doctor might say a calling or something of that ilk, but we've typically left that in the world of the church, and that needs to change. So what's your mandate? What is that sense of what you are to do? What's your method? How do you live out that mandate? You know, my son's a great example. I'm biased, but he is. But you know, he gives his pupils a hope and a future, and his, you know, that really is something. He does it through music and the arts, and he's got a real he has a call on his life to do that. I've got no doubt about it. And his method is teaching. And you know, his message is very much a, you know, a can do. He loves to give everybody an opportunity to be involved in the arts. And of course, his metron, his sphere of influence, is his pupils, but it's actually gone beyond that, into a town and parents and way beyond. So we're going to unpack your manifesto and look at your mandate, your message, your method, and your metron sphere of influence. And you'll see there's a little quadrant already creeping out there. So I'm going to do that. So first part of the school night will be a teaching directly related to being sent and sending. And then there'll be more of an application-based teaching, which for the first 3 or 4 months is going to have you writing your sent manifesto. And then we'll have a time of Q&A, an opportunity for you to ask questions either about the week's teaching or something else. So we've got the resources, we've got the school. I'll be creating a Facebook community for subscribers. So once we've got through this, the first school night, we'll be doing that. And that will be a place where, you know, people can connect with each other. And I'm hoping and believing teachers will connect with teachers, and different people will find different people all around the world who are living out this sent kingdom life. So I'll have the community, and then there's coaching involved. Now, I'm not probably wouldn't expect there to be personal coaching involved with the way that I'm producing this. But what I'll be going to be doing is I'm going to send you out every month, the subscribers, every month you're going to receive from me a coaching newsletter. Now, I've got actually about 3 or 4 manuals which I've produced already, which have got a number of elements. Some of you are familiar with my whiteboard coaching, where I'll coach somebody to their next steps of their life's journey. And I'll be sharing some of that. That will be one of the themes that will come out in the newsletters. Now, I'm probably going to end up needing to do more than one a month. The reason being, I know that some of you are organizational leaders. And one of my favorite things to do is organizational coaching. So I'll also be leaking a little bit of that out in newsletters to help people with organizational coaching. Then I've also got my strategic planning. Now, if you subscribe, you have immediate access to my full strategic planning workshop, which it really is an incredible resource for you to learn from. But I'll also be giving some of that in my newsletters. And then I've also got a number of other coaching tools, which I've developed over time. A couple of them, one of them is called Belief Coaching, which is very simple. I've also got one called Zacchaeus Coaching. So I'll be sending out those newsletters, and so you're going to have different resources that you can access as we go through. So £10 a month, you get access to a community, a school night, resources, and a coaching newsletter. And as I say, the reason I've kept it at that price, and this isn't me just doing the market stall thing, I really do believe that the assignment that the Lord has spoken to me about is a movement. And the movement has two places really, that every believer knows they're sent, and every church leader knows how to send them. Not just the missionary to Siberia, but the doctor, the nurse, the waiter, the waitress, the truck driver, the graphic designer needs to know Sunday morning, they're in a place that encourages, believes in them, sends them, and that by the time they get to work on Monday, they are full of confidence and purpose and satisfaction in what they do. So that's Sent and Send, and you can jump on my website there, and you can subscribe, and you'll have immediate access to the resources. There'll be a newsletter that will be coming out before the first school on Monday, and I'm very excited about the first school, and I'm trying to design at the moment a very simple manifesto, kind of like your own personal manifesto statement, and so that's on its way. Now, let me just touch a little bit for a moment. I'm going to teach on this more during the school. And oh, by the way, the school night will be recorded, so as long as you're subscribing, you'll have access to the recording of the school night. So if you happen to be working, or you're in a part of the world that the time doesn't work, you'll have access to that. That's very important. But I've been looking more at Sent and Send, and in particular the relationship between two things: every believer knowing they're sent, erasing the secular sacred divide, and what we're really battling in our world, to be perfectly honest, and that is rampant secularism. And here's what I've begun to notice, that actually it's the secular sacred divide. And what is that? Let me just give you a quick definition. It is a pervasive belief that God values some things, people, and activities more than others. I mean, can I hear a boo from you over there? That is not the truth. And if we believe it, you see, what we'll end up believing is that it's possible for me to have a less valuable job or career or role on this earth. And that is not our Jesus. It's not the way he works. So we got to move on from that. Now, men and movements have played their part in this over the years, and names like Augustine and Aquila, and we found ourselves in this place, and it can be very easily reinforced by ministers like me standing in a pulpit and making a statement about something, and you can so easily create that sense of people feeling less valuable. And I want to see that erased. What's really very interesting, that there are down the years so many great men and women who have spoken into this, so it's I want to see that changed. I want to see every believer knowing that they're a first-class minister of the gospel of the kingdom. That's the passion. One of the interesting things that I noticed was that there was the great division in Europe prior to the 30-year war in France. And the 30-year war in France was a religious war. But here's what happened. Because it was a religious war, the people actually ended up getting a bit fed up with religion. And it actually birthed, they got disillusioned with the credibility of religion because there was such division. And it actually, it birthed this tolerance that we have now. And it actually really was the beginning of the Enlightenment movement. And of course, the Enlightenment movement has led us down the road to secularism. And, so many of the challenges at the moment are, well, Christian, if you don't love everybody, the same, you've got to tolerate everybody. It's like, no, that actually came out of a secular sacred divide. It's very, very interesting. And we will unpack more of the history on this as we go through the year, not in deep, history language, but we will unlock it, because it's really important. Because what we ended up was that the Enlightenment movement began to say that religion is a matter of private belief, and it's what you do in your home. And so what we've seen happen over the years is the withdrawal, as it were, of the validation of Christians in the marketplace and into church and into their homes. And we have to turn that around by knowing that we are the sent ones, and realize that when we realize that we are sent, we take our place. And it may well not be that we have the opportunity in every situation to preach Jesus, but we have the opportunity to establish kingdom principles in our schools, governments, workplaces, businesses, everywhere. So I do believe that Sent and Send is related to really challenging secularism. I believe that a new reformation depends on it. And those of you who know me know that when I say reformation, I'm not talking about a repeat of the one that went before. I'm talking about where the whole of society comes under the influence of the person, the power, the presence, and the principles of Jesus. And so we get back to that place of Judeo-Christian principles being the underpinning principles of our society. But we won't get there unless we empower believers to know that they're sent, and that Reformation depends on it. So does another Renaissance, not a repeat of the 12th to 14th century, which ended in secular humanism, but a new Renaissance, a new expression of creativity and inventiveness, which gives glory to God. And we need to see this. And of course, in many respects as well, a revival depends on it too. A revival cannot just be meetings in a church. It has to be so much more than that. You see, a secular sacred divide, let me give you 2 or 3 things here. It denies that a good God created a good creation for us to govern. The secular sacred divide will do that. It denies Christ's lordship over all life for us to reveal, and it denies the Holy Spirit's work in all areas of life for us to explore and co-labor. I'm just touching just a few things. Martin Luther made a great start. His statement, the priesthood of all believers, is a brilliant, brilliant start. And in many respects, he was talking about that the priest and the choir were singing songs and reading a Bible in a different language to the people. So he was bridging that gap. But of course, it led to so much more. It led to, what we see of Calvin. It led to the incredible city of Geneva. So it was this incredible start. But I want to tell you this. I believe that we are poised in our world for change because we live in the days of the greatest opportunity, sheer numbers of people. We live in the days of the greatest change, which for me is a key to reformation. And we live in the days of the greatest access to creativity. And there we have these 3 elements that come together. And this is our moment. And, I love Esther 4:14. I know many of you love it too. Who knows if you have not attained royalty for such a time as this? It demands a question. What time is it? I believe that it's revival time, because of the opportunity, the sheer numbers of people. I believe that it's reformation time, the appetite and the hunger for change. I believe it's Renaissance time because of the access to creativity. That's what time it is. And we as a generation, well, we've been learning who we are. We're an identity generation. We've been realizing that we need to know why we're alive. We're a destiny generation. We've been to schools of ministry and conferences and healing conferences, and we know that we are a heaven on earth generation, which is really a part of the apostolic. And we know that we are a kingdom generation. Some of the teaching about the spheres of influence, marketplace Christianity. See, what time is it? Revival time, Reformation time, Renaissance time. And we are a destiny generation, an identity generation, a heaven on earth generation, and a kingdom generation poised for such a time as this. And that's why Sent and Send is what I'm calling my ministry. And I don't overly like the phrase, but I feel like I need to embrace it. I feel like I need to say, no, this is what I do. And actually, the real crunch for this is my very good friend, Ben Fitzgerald, who I love very, very much indeed. And I was with him last week at his school and his church out in Germany. And he's invited me to speak at a conference, at a future conference. And not unusual for me to be invited to speak. He's invited me to speak, and he was just showing me the list of people. and he put under my name, and most of the time, I very often, and I'm very happy to be associated, of course, with Bethel. People will very often put that or down, and Ben put Paul Manwaring, Sent and Send. And as I read it, I thought, that's it, Ben. You're the first one to put my name at a conference and the tag underneath, Sent and Send. So I really am. I hope you realize I am excited about this. I do believe that it's transformational. I believe that those of you that jump on and subscribe, access the resources, and those are going to be growing over time. Do the school. And as I say, the first 3 or 4 months, we're going to be looking at writing your manifesto. What does it look like when you fully show up in your place of work? You see, it's related to a number of things, but I'm going to be leading you on this journey, a journey of overcoming a low self-worth, a low self-esteem, a lack of confidence, a lack of purpose in your workplace. You know what does that? If I feel second class, if I feel that I am not a fully paid up minister of the gospel of the kingdom, if I feel a bit second class, if I feel like I'm only going to arrive when I have a job and a title in the church, you know what happens when I walk into my workplace? I've got some shame. I'm lacking confidence. I'm not sure that this is my purpose. So that's going to change. It's going to change for you. And I'm going to lead you in that. And of course, much of this began on Sunday night in May 2008, when in Bethel Church, I made a statement. I had no idea how radical it was, but it was simply this: surgery is not a second-class healing. I now have friends around the world, healthcare professionals, who will say to me, I know where I was when I heard you say that. It changed me. Well, I want to find your phrase too, that your job is not a second-class ministry, that you are a minister of the gospel of the kingdom, that you're sent. And I want you just for a moment, as I close, to imagine yourself, as it were, sitting in that room, locked, and what is it? Well, we live in a world of a lot of chaos, don't we? There's a whole lot of chaotic things going on. It can feel challenging. COVID and what we've come through can maybe cause us to question our purpose in life. Maybe we've seen situations, maybe we've lost loved ones, and we've seen and felt powerless. And maybe we've been hurt, disappointed, betrayed, let down. And Jesus steps into our room and he says, forgive. He says, forgive. Take care of your heart, forgive. Then he says, receive the Holy Spirit, the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. Power. We're not powerless. We receive the same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead. Then he says to us, peace. He's the Prince of Peace. He speaks into the chaos. And then he says, as the Father sent me, so I send you. And it's just going to be, a great time of really, as I say, I want to release empowerment to you. I want to help some of you know what it means to be empowered and to be an empowering leader. You see, the church leader needs to be an empowering leader if they're going to be a sending leader, because they're going to be empowering people that maybe are more powerful, more influential than they are, but they're empowering them. So I want you to know what it is to be an empowering leader, to feel empowered by Sent and Send. I want you to fully walk in the confidence of your identity. And I want you to know the power of this truth. He wastes nothing. He gets you ready. It's where your purpose will come from. So if anyone's got any questions, I know my wife is going to be on the chat on this, and she's going to be the same on the Zoom when we start on Monday. We'll have Zooms for those who've subscribed. It's going to be a lot of fun. My wife did this with when we worked out in Bethel, when we ran a course there for nearly 10 years. And I can tell you that she got to know so many people, answered so many questions, and pointed so many people in the right direction. So it's going to be a double act of us and it starts on Monday. It's you can subscribe now. You can jump on now. You'll have immediate access, as I say, to the resources. You'll have the link for the school. You'll receive, there'll be a newsletter come out before the school, because I'm going to challenge you with a couple of things before we start. And then there'll be a monthly newsletter, which will be the coaching newsletter. And one of the things I'm going to do every school once a month is there's going to be a key coaching question. People often say to me, that's a great question. I want people to say to you, that's a great question. That's one of the things. So there's going to be a key coaching question. I'm going to highlight one of the resources. I'm going to highlight. It might just be a chapter out of Mastering Kingdom Administration. It might be a video. I'm just going to highlight one of the courses each week. There's going to be a key question, and then there's going to be a declaration for you, which will probably come out of your manifesto. So Marguerite there is a great friend of all the things that I teach. Actually, she's saying, is it Monday yet? I don't think it is Monday yet, Marguerite, but it's wonderful to have you on. You're such a great encourager, and so many friends I'm seeing on here, their names, and I know that there'll be more as the weeks go by. And jumping on, so you can jump on now, paulmannering.com. You can drop down menu there to Sent and Send. You can click on the front of it for more information about Sent and Send. You can click on join for Sent and Send, and as I say, I'm going to be back on Zoom for those who've subscribed this Monday, January the 30th, 6:20. We'll have 10 minutes to say hi, share some good news. Then I'm going to jump straight into why every believer needs to know that they are apostolic. We cannot leave apostolic just with the ones with the title. I want to see apostolic truck drivers, train drivers, waitresses, waiters, nurses, graphic designers. So 20 minutes on that, or 25 probably, and then I will start to unpack your manifesto, creating your Sent manifesto. And the first part of that will be the aspirational statement of what do I want it to look like when I, the best version of me, manifests in my workplace. And I have a friendship with a couple, they're train drivers, and they're wonderful people. And you know, I've chatted to them. The lady, she worships in her train, and it's kind of like the best version of her is this worshipping train driver. You know, who doesn't want to be on a train that's being driven by somebody who's worshipping? You know, they are concentrating. I've talked to her about it. So look forward to seeing you. This will be available on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube if you want to re-listen to any of it. But I'll be seeing you on Monday, the 30th, 6:20 UK time, for about an hour and 25 minutes till 7:45 UK time. And there'll be opportunity there to ask questions. And if in the meantime you've got any questions, you can direct message me, and I'll do my best to answer them. Oh, and also Sent and Send. Well, I've got a book coming out. It's currently with Chris Valentin for the forward, but I've got a book coming out as well this year, which is called Sent. And it's actually an apostolic field guide for every believer. So it feels as though a lot of my resources are going to converge on this theme. Thanks for joining me on here. It's been great to see not your faces. I'll see those on Zoom, but it's been great to see so many names of friends jumping on and off here. And yep, it's Sent and Send. So Father, I pray that everyone on here and everyone that subscribes to this journey, this kingdom journey, will know that they're sent. That what Jesus said to those 10, there were only 10 because Judas wasn't there and Thomas wasn't there, but Jesus, what he said to them, we will know that he said it to us. As the Father sent me, so I sent you. You're a sent one, whoever you are, whatever you do, wherever you go. Thanks for joining me. I look forward to seeing many of you on Monday for the beginning of the Sent School, the Sent and Send School, the ministry that I actually believe the Lord is having me draw everything together under all of the things that I'm passionate about. Come under this theme. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you Monday. If in the meantime you've got any questions, ask away. And if what you've heard tonight makes you want to subscribe, jump on there and subscribe, and you'll have immediate access to everything. So bless you, and good night or good morning or good day, wherever you are. Thanks for joining. God bless you.